Hey everybody, welcome to week 3 of our 6 weeks to organized course. I'm excited to be here. I'm actually doing something a little different with my recording. So I am trying out some new software, which might not be the smartest thing to be doing mid-course, trying to switch. But I am testing out a free platform where I can still have 2 cameras because StreamYard has changed their pricing structure, and to be able to have 2 cameras just kind of cost prohibitive with the new setup. So there's a free open source streaming software called OBS, and I am trying that out. So far so good. Obviously I don't need a second camera for today, but I did test out adding it, and it added fine, and I do have some stuff to record later where that second camera will come in handy. So yeah, anyway, complete aside and not at all what we're here to talk about today, but thanks for indulging that little tech moment for me. So hopefully you've been through the first 2 weeks of content. If you haven't, that's completely okay. You can do that at your own pace. You're not necessarily going to be missing out on anything if you haven't done that yet. I will reference some of that content as we're going through some of these steps. And I will encourage you to, even if you don't necessarily watch the lessons, review the handouts, because the whole point of this course and why I do it the way I do it is to help people create systems that not only help them get organized, but stay organized. And the stay part is where all of that background information and that deep dive into organizing challenges comes into play. Because the stay is where we get tripped up, I think, a lot. And not entirely, but it's easy to set up a system based on something somebody else taught you without having to examine the reasons why you struggle getting organized or staying organized, and then all of a sudden that system doesn't work for you. Well, that system probably doesn't work for you because of one of those types of challenges that wasn't part of the overall assessment from the get-go. So, for example, if you are someone who attaches sentimentality to stuff, the purge part of this process is going to be a challenge for you, and without recognizing that and understanding that, sometimes you don't understand why that trips you up and gets in your way, and then how that connects to your why and connects to the big picture, and then strategizing around how you overcome that attaching sentimentality to things to allow you to free up space, free up clutter, free up mental energy, because it takes some mental energy, and then ultimately get you to the craft space that you want and that you deserve. So it's all interconnected. So I do encourage you not to skip over that part, but if you're not there yet, that's fine. You can go back and pull that in as we go through the next couple of weeks. We're going to talk today about creating an organized only space. That is a totally Tiffany learning for me, and it's one that I still rely on. And then we're going to talk about sorting and purging. And I'm going to have some supplemental videos for you throughout the week. I am working through this process myself. You can't see it completely behind me. I'm going to move so you can see it. And I'm not sure if you all can really tell. Maybe you can't. I can tell. But this space looks infinitely better than it did when we first started this course. And I spent some time Wednesday working on the organized only space, getting back to that. and doing some of the things we're going to talk about today. I have specifically left some things undone so that I could do some recording for you all and literally walk you through it while I am doing it. We'll do a little bit of that today, but I'll do more in supplemental videos throughout the week, because people are very visual, and sometimes I think the act of seeing it done can make it a little bit easier to understand. And did I say we're going to talk about sorting and purging? I kind of lost track there, trying to show off my work. So we're going to talk about creating an organized only space, and then we're going to talk about sorting supplies and purging supplies, which, you know, I think kind of go hand in hand. So the concept of an organized only space is, I want to make a note here on my notes, something I don't want to forget about. Okay. So creating an organized only space and the concept is a good place to start. This is a space that you commit to yourself stays organized no matter what. And that doesn't mean it's perfect every day. Your maintenance system may be a weekly system, not a daily system, but you have a space that you say to yourself, no matter what, every day, every 3 days, once a week, this space is going to get straightened up and it's going to stay organized. And it's a good place to start because it's a quick win, all about quick wins. And for most of us, that space is going to be our desk or workbench or work table or whatever it is. And for that to be your organized only space becomes critical, because that also then allows you to work and create projects no matter what else the rest of your space looks like, because your workspace is organized. I am typically a straighten up my desk every day kind of person. Past few weeks it hasn't quite been like that because I've had a lot of work in progress stuff going on, and I know that I'm going to get back to it tomorrow, so I'm not going to put it all away. But I am typically I like to start my day, and again, this is also my workspace for my day job. I like to start my day with a clean desk. It makes me feel better. It makes it easier for me to start my day. So that's a daily thing for me. Other people, it's every couple of days or once a week. Again, that piece of it is entirely up to you. So when we talk about creating an organized only space, I'm going to say desk because that is what it is for me. If that's not what it's going to be for you, then just swap out whatever word works for you, but the process is still the same. So before you get started, you're going to need a couple of empty boxes or storage containers, tubs, whatever you've got, and a trash bag. No need to buy anything. These are holding places for things, and so you're not going to leave things in this permanently, and so you don't need to actually go buy anything or worry about it. The size of the box, let me walk you through what we're going to do, and then that'll help you figure out what size box you need to have or find, or what kind of storage container you need. And the trash bag is for trash, so you're not going to be storing anything in that. So again, for me, it's my desk. So I did actually go through this process on Wednesday, and I have a little video to share with you about that, what that looks like. I'm going to speed it up because I recorded from multiple angles and me doing multiple things. But you're going to take everything from the space, you're going to move everything from the space, and you're going to put it in one of the boxes. So again, that may tell you what size box you need. If it's a desk, the drawers are really going to be up to you. If the drawers are fairly organized, if you know what's in each drawer, if you can easily find something in a drawer without having to pull everything out and then put it all back in, then for the purposes of this process, I'm going to tell you, unless you really want to, leave the drawers alone. Mine, I did not do a drawer clean out. I will. That's something I do probably once a year. So at the end of the year when I'm off work for 2 weeks, I'll end up pulling everything out of each drawer, putting it back, thinking, okay, really this needs to be in this drawer, this needs to be in an organizer on my desk, or something like that. But I didn't do that for right now because the drawers are okay. They're not driving me crazy. They're fairly well organized. I know where to find things. If that is not the situation for you, then I'm going to tell you take everything out of the drawers as well. Sorry. Okay. Then once that's done, you're going to go through that box and you're going to put back on your desk or in your drawers, which, however you're doing it, only the things that belong there. So if you need it on your desk, if you need it in the drawers, then you're going to put it back. Don't get too hung up in the where it goes. You may need desk organizers or drawer organizers, containers to hold things. We're not there yet. Don't go out and buy stuff yet. So if you have a empty small box or a cup or a jar that you can use temporarily as a holding place, then use those things. But get things sort of how you think you want them. Don't overthink it. Just whatever first comes to your mind, and get those things that belong on or in your desk back in that space. Anything that doesn't belong on or in your desk goes in one of two places. The other box, because you're going to empty the desk box. You want that completely empty, because I don't want you to pull something out, decide it doesn't go on the desk, put it back, and then have to pull it out again later. So we're gonna just take from one box and put it in another. I know it might sound silly. I promise you it helps. Or a storage tub, whatever. If it doesn't belong on your desk and it's trash, doesn't work, broken, whatever, throw it away. If you know you don't need it and are ready to part with it, then get another box and start a donate pile. That's perfectly fine. That's going to be part of the purge process. So you can go ahead and start that. If you're not there yet, that's fine. Put it in the stash box. So we're going to have a desk box. That's everything that came off your desk. You're going to have a trash bag. You're going to have a stash box. That is stuff we are going to deal with later, right? And then possibly you're going to have a donate box if you're ready for that. If you're not ready for that, don't worry about it. If you have something that was on your desk that already has a home and can easily put back in that home, go ahead and do it. That's fine. You don't have to. We're going to deal with everything that's in the stash box in the next step. So you can work that out however you want. If you're going to get distracted by then putting things away, then don't worry about it. Just desk box, nope, that doesn't go on my desk. Stash box, and leave it at that. Because the focus is the organized only space, nothing else. So only you know what your squirrel brain is like, how much your squirrel brain is a problem. If you're in a day where everything is a squirrel, then don't add any steps in other than just dealing with your desk. That may take you a couple hours. It may take you 30 minutes. Really just depends on how much you have to deal with, whether you're doing drawers or not, all that kind of stuff. So once you are done with that process, you should have an empty box. The desk box should be empty, because anything that was on the desk that belongs there should be back on or in the desk. Everything else should be in one of two places: the trash or in your stash box. You could potentially have a third donate pile or bag or whatever the case may be if you've chosen to go that route. But that first box, the box you put everything in to begin with, should be completely empty by this point. You can get rid of that box, recycle it, put it back where you found it, hold on to it for the sorting and purging process, whatever makes sense for you. Sorting and purging go hand in hand. You can do them both at the same time. You don't have to. Again, this is all about what works best for you. If you are someone who struggles getting rid of things and you know you're going to need some help in the purging process, and I don't like the purging I don't like the word purge. So in the destashing process, then you will do that step when you have somebody available to help you. If you want to do the sorting part first, that's totally fine. Again, it's all about how well you are able to stay focused. If sorting and purging at the same time is going to be too much of a distraction for you, then don't do that. We're going to sort everything, and then you'll go back through it and purge it. If you can do both at the same time without a problem, that's fine. There may be a cursory level of it too, where you're just like, I don't even know why I have this. And when you're in the mood and ready to put it in the donate pile, put it in the donate pile. Because sometimes we're just not in that place. So to sort, and so now when we get to the sort piece of this or stage of this, now we're talking about everything, right? However, I am going to encourage you to start small, start one area at a time, and the best thing to do is then take that second box, the box that has the stuff from your desk that did not go back there, what we called our stash box, and start with that. All right? So you're going to sort that by what it is. So in that process, you may find things that don't belong in your craft space, things that you brought down. For me, it's stuff that I brought from downstairs. So I don't know if y'all can see it, but there's a blue royal painter's tape back there that I brought down from upstairs because I needed it for one day. It just needs to go back upstairs. So, you can sort in that way. How you sort kind of depends on your needs and what you're sorting. So for the stash box, for example, your first pass might be stays in this space, doesn't stay in this space. 2 piles, no big deal. The doesn't stay in the space goes back where it goes, right? So for me, goes upstairs. Whether or not I actually put the things away when I get them upstairs is a different conversation. It kind of depends on where I'm at on any given day. So that's going to be your first pass. So now you're going to be left with a smaller pile, but possibly stays in the space. Now you're going to sort kind of based on your strategy. So this is where we go back to last week's lesson where you talked about or thought about your strategy. Are you organizing your space in zones, so by activity, or are you organizing your space by supply type? Again, you can do both mixed in together. I organize my space by supply type, so that's what I'm going to be talking about. If you're going to organize by zones, you're just going to kind of swap that language out in your head. So I'm going to show you real quick what I'm talking about. So I'm going to show off my cutie patootie little bag. Isn't this so cute? So when I was cleaning up the other day, I am actually going to turn on my other camera. Okay. I had this stuff in, well, actually in a variety of places. This is from the Creating Keepsakes event in Collinsville back in April, as well as the Stamp and Scrapbook Expo in Schaumburg in August. Yes, I have stuff that I hadn't put away since April. A little embarrassed. So I'm messing with my camera feed here, and I have no idea what this is actually doing during the recording, so this is going to be interesting. Okay. As you can see, the overwhelming majority of this is all, oh my goodness, Scrappy Boy stamp supplies. I do have a couple of things I got at the Kentucky State Fair in here. I have some chalk transfers in here. Let's make sure that all of the craft supplies are out of here, because all the rest of it. Okay. And I can color the bag or paint it. I'm so excited about that. Okay. So, again, how you choose to sort, or how you need to sort, is really sort of up to you. And again, I encourage you to kind of pick a section of your space at a time, at least for the sorting and purging. We'll kind of bring it all together at some point, but trying to sort your whole entire room at once can be very overwhelming. And you don't need to think about what's working. So for me, for example, and I'll take some pictures of this and share it, but my scrapbook paper is very well taken care of. I don't need to deal with that. The only time I need to sort scrapbook paper is when I've bought new paper and I'm putting it away. I do have other types of supplies that are not so well organized. My ribbon, for example, like my ribbon stash has exploded. And the way I was organizing it is no longer working for me, so I'm going to have to redo it. I do that this week, actually, as part of this process, so I can show you all what I'm thinking, because I would also like some input on that. So this is all paper crafting supplies, but it's different categories. So I have some stencils. Well, now that I've got my cameras all messed up, you're not going to be able to see, and you don't really care about, I'm not showing off, so I have stencils, I have paper packs, I have colored die cuts, I have dies for my die cutting machine, I have acrylic stamp sets, and I do have some other embellishments in here. I do actually have some non-Scrappy Boy stuff in here, even though it doesn't look like that could be possible. And so for this, I have some, well, these are die, but I have shaker plates. So this, I'm sorting by what it is, right? I've got a pile for my stamps. I've got a pile for I've got a pile for my stamps over here. I've got a pile for my colored I have a pile for stamps here. I've got a pile for my colored dies here. I've got paper over here. Got paper over here. Paper. I've got stencils back here. You can't really see those. I've got a pile for stencils and a pile for actual die cuts. So we're just gonna go through this. I have some other Scrappy Boy ephemera, and all of this kind of fits into one of these various categories. I do have some little wooden embellishments. But again, right now, we're just sorting. So whatever section you are, I've got some like journaling boxes or picture mats. Got some doodle pops. So how the categories that you sort in are going to vary depending on what you're sorting. So, if you're sorting papers, painting supplies, you're going to sort your paints and your paintbrushes and your canvases. If you're sorting sewing supplies, you're going to sort your fabric, your thread, your needles, or tools just in general. Again, broader categories tend to be better, because when you start getting into really small categories, and when you think about having to containerize those things, you generally end up with like a container that's holding like two things, and that's really not worth it. Okay, so these are all okay. So all of that is sorted. So I've got all of my various piles, right? Now, if I wasn't sorting things that I just bought, the next step might be to go back through all of this, each pile. So go through my pile of paper, my pile of dies, my pile of stencils, and think critically about whether or not I need to keep these things. Is there anything in any of these piles that I won't use, that is broken, that's not my style anymore, that I have multiples of? And then think about, how am I going to get rid of those things? So obviously anything broken that can't be repaired, or that I know I'm not going to need to be repaired, can get thrown away. Anything that is not my style anymore, or that I'm not going to use, or that I have multiples of, can be donated. And I have had lots of questions in the past about where do you donate these kinds of craft supplies, and what normally comes up is to check with your local library or nursing home or school or daycare. They will often love to take unused craft supplies. Obviously, I think you can donate stuff to Goodwill if you have a Goodwill in your community, or a Salvation Army. We actually have a craft reuse and recycle store here. They're only open once a week, and they run a lot on volunteer time, but people donate craft supplies to them. It's a great place for crafters to go and shop, but it's also a great place for schools and things like that. They'll shop, and they do fundraisers and donate a lot to local schools and things like that. So it's really cool, and we're very lucky to have that in our community. So that's definitely a place to think about where you can purge these where you can donate things that you have destashed. One thing that's going to be kind of difficult, and I am teaching this in stages, if you are at a place where you just want to go all in and get it all done, like in a weekend, I'm going to ask you to wait until next week. And so you have these 4 steps. You have the sort, purge, assign a home, and containerize before you really get started, so that you have everything you need to think about before you just dive in. Now, if you want to do this in steps, then all you really need are some empty storage tubs or some empty cardboard boxes, because you have all this sorted, and I could very easily take an empty cardboard box and lay these piles in a cardboard box with paper or something in between them to keep my sorted piles separated. Or I could cut the flaps off the cardboard box, and so I could take my stamps and put them in the cardboard box, and then put a flap behind it, and then put my colored die cuts in and put a flap behind it. So that way you can keep everything already sorted, but it's not just laying in piles all over your floor. Because I'm a big believer of sometimes you got to make a mess to clean up a mess. But I also understand that, like, if you're working on this a little bit at a time, we haven't gotten to the next step yet, and so you need something to do on the in-between to be able to kind of get things out of your way. So if you know that you can probably knock everything out in a weekend or over the course of a week, and you have the energy around doing that, this is week 3. Watch the week 4 lesson, and then you'll have all the information you need at that point to be able to go ahead and move forward. I think absorbing the information a little bit at a time makes it easier. You can start with something small. You can start with your organized only space and get a feel for at least sorting and purging all of the things that don't belong back on your organized only space. And that gives you the framework for, okay, so now I know what to tackle. Again, we're not touching things that are already working and already nicely organized and have a home and all of that. There is value in once or twice a year even going through all of that stuff and purging stuff that's no longer your style. Like at some point between now and the end of the year, I need to go through my scrapbook paper. I try to do that like once a year. Usually when I come back from creating keepsakes and I have a whole ton of paper to put away. I didn't do that this year when I put my paper away, so I know I need to do that. As well as, my ribbon. Okay, I'm going to show y'all my ribbon. Hold on a second. This is my ribbon box. As of about 2 months or 3 months ago, this was maybe about 3/4 of the way full. Not well organized. Everything was just thrown in there, but because it wasn't completely full, it was easy for me to find what I was looking for. Well, now ribbon has become much more a part of my crafting life than it was. I have all of this in here, and somewhere in this room I have a bag of about 5 or 6 big rolls of ribbon like this that won't fit in here. And so this is much in need of some organization. I have some ideas. I think I need to separate it by spools of ribbon and loose ribbon, and then somehow the loose ribbon has to be organized. But it's definitely, again, something that wasn't a problem months ago and is a problem now. So I'm gonna have to tackle this. So this is one of those things that is, yes, I have a home for it. Ribbon goes in here. This is no longer big enough for all of the ribbon. and it definitely needs to be sorted. So we have everything sorted by type. So right here I have my pile of colored die cuts. So just so you can see what I'm talking about, right? And you know, this in and of itself is fine. And if this pile was all I had, then just having it organized this way is probably sufficient. This is not all I have. Not by a long shot. So there is another level of organization that I apply, or sorting that I apply to all of my craft supplies. Again, this is another totally Tiffany method. And this is what she calls this the system she recommends for her got a lot people. So you either got a little or you got a lot, and if you're a got a lot person, then this method is helpful, and I use it consistently across all of my supply types. So within each supply type, you subdivide in one of 4 ways: alphabet, color, season, or theme. Alphabets are easy, right? So if you can see on that table behind me where the blue, there we go, where the painter's tape is, sitting on that table is what is called a scrap rack. That is a totally Tiffany product. I don't know that they make them anymore. I will try to find a link. I have been able to find them on Amazon. If you are a scrapbooker or card maker, highly recommend it. It took me several years to buy one, but once I did, it was a game changer. And you can kind of make your own, and we can talk some about how to do that too. But all of my embellishments for scrapbooking are in that. And at the very beginning are my alphabet stickers, so everything is alphabetical there. I don't have color, I don't have rainbow in there. Rainbow is in my papers and like journaling boxes and photo mats and things like that. My markers, my ribbon, there'll be, some rainbow organization there. But then I also have seasons and themes. So seasons, obviously winter, spring, summer, fall, but my holidays go in there. So Christmas is in winter, Valentine's Day is in winter, Mother's Day is in spring, Father's Day is in summer. So I don't have separate holiday categories. That is in the season in which the holiday happens. Graduation, spring. Wedding, spring. Is that typically always when those things happen? No, but that's what my brain says. And it's all about, when you hear the word graduation, what season do you think about, right? And then themes. And so themes are things like travel, animals, or pets. I have an animals category, not a pets category, because then things related to zoo trips or SeaWorld go in there, as well as everything related to our pets. Everything travel, right? Everything for vacation and work trips and anything like that all goes in my travel category. I have a kids category, not a boy or a girl category, just a kids category, so all of that collapses together. And so my scrapbook embellishments are organized that way. My papers are organized that way, in addition to a rainbow category. And then my stamps, my dies not so much, because I only have a little. I don't have a whole lot of those. They're just all together. And my stencil's the same. But my papers and my colored die cuts and my stamps are organized that way. Now, because of Scrappy Boy, I have a movie and TV category, which I didn't have before. But I've created that for all of that stuff. So, my Snow Princess, right? Or my Arabian Nights. Those are movie and TV because that's how I'm going to think about it. Now, technically, you could put this in a category that starts with the D and ends with the Y and represents a mouse, but that's too specific of a category for me. That's too narrow of a category for me. So movie and TV works best for me here. Um, and then they have a cute girls line, which I have created a separate category for. Because again, I have a lot of that, so that's what works for me. So that Totally Tiffany method is a way to subdivide, and you can apply that to anything. You can apply that to fabric. You can subdivide that way. You can divide your fabric by color, and then by season, and then you can divide by theme. I don't have a lot of fabric, so I don't necessarily do it that way. All my fabric is just together. Probably needs to be purged because I probably have too much, but I have these pieces of leather, Star Wars, Friends, and more Star Wars, and Game of Thrones. But if you had a lot of fabric with animals on it, you could have an animals category because no one color is necessarily going to apply to this. So let's talk a little bit more about the purging process. This is the step where a lot of crafters get a little stressed or anxious about it. Again, either you attach sentimentality to stuff, and while that factors more in could factor more into a scenario where you're trying to create space for things and it's not the craft supplies that are taking up room, but memorabilia or things that belong to people that or sentimental items that are taking up space that you could be using for craft supplies is one aspect of it. But it could be that there's some emotional attachment to some of your craft supplies, whether it's something someone bought you or something that you bought on a trip with someone special. I was actually with someone a couple of months ago who always went to craft shows and scrapbook events and stuff with her mom, and her mom passed away and she inherited all of her mother's craft supplies, all of them, and was struggling with knowing that she had more than what she needed, but getting rid of her mom's things was difficult, which makes complete and total sense. So first, I encourage you, when you are in the mood to get rid of things, to roll with it. I have to do that because I struggle with the, oh, what if I need this later? Like, what if a project comes along and I need this, perfect thing that I have right now that I have no idea what to do with. If you're in that mood to get rid of things, do it. Enlist some help if you know this is a real struggle for you. Have somebody come along and help you. Give them your parameters. Have them, tell them, I need you to kind of be brutal here. I need you to really help me pare this pile down to from 30 things to 20 or whatever. Set those kinds of guidelines for yourself. The other thing you can do is this, and I do this. If you have things that you are struggling to get rid of because of the what if I need it one day, take a box or a storage container, put those items in it. Label it on the outside. Just duct tape works or masking tape works with a date no more than 6 months in the future. You can give yourself 9 if it's like specific seasonal things. So if you're doing this in January and it's, winter items that you're not necessarily going to get to, then but until maybe, July, August, September, then you can give yourself a little bit more, but definitely no more than 12 months. If you haven't taken the things out of that box or storage container and used them in 12 months, you can feel pretty safe to get rid of it. Most of the things that we have
that if we go and get rid of, if we really do need it somewhere down the road, we can buy it again if we need to. That is true for a lot of excess supplies. How many things of glue do you actually need, right? Now, I do have various types of glue. There's legitimacy in that, but I don't need 5 containers of the same kind of glue unless I go through it like a container a week or something like that. There are exceptions to that. There are very rare fabrics or rare items that we bought to repurpose that we do have a specific intent for, and we maybe just haven't gotten there yet. Those aren't the things that I'm talking about. It's the pile of red felt that you can get anywhere at any given time if you need it, that you haven't touched, you've had forever. Let it go. Donate it, because then you can feel good about it. That's the other thing. I know that we struggle with throwing things away, and so I'm not encouraging you to throw things away. Find a place to donate it. If you know someone who is new to crafting and doesn't have a lot of supplies, you can, give things there. There are destashed groups on Facebook. You can sell things on eBay, or there are some destash sites where you can actually sell some things, and so you can get a little money back for what you spent for it. And then, like we talked about, earlier in the lesson, nursing homes, schools, community centers, libraries, daycare centers, places like that, even hospitals with that, especially that have children's wings, might be interested in some of those supplies. I know during COVID, there might have been a lot less of that, but I'm hearing more and more of those kinds of places taking in supplies again. So it's definitely worth reaching out, even if you reached out a couple of years ago and the answer was no, it's worth reaching out again now. So I know that purging is a difficult piece of this, but it's an important piece of it. Most of us don't have unlimited space to be able to store everything we might want to keep our hands on. And honestly, the weight of all of the things that you have that you probably should get rid of takes up a lot of mental energy, more than you realize. And it's very freeing to be able to look at your space and not just feel overwhelmed by the amount that you have. So I encourage you to spend a little time with this process and reach out for help from family and friends if you need it. Put some stuff in the Facebook group. Get some support. There are declutter Facebook groups out there that are great, that provide a lot of guidance and support and encouragement. And I can put some of links to those in our Facebook group, and they're free to join. They have, sometimes have programs that might pay, might programs that might cost you to be a part of, but the Facebook groups are usually free to join. And so a lot of folks in there provide a lot of encouragement as well, and can kind of ask the hard questions and make you really think about, yeah, I can let go of this. So wanted to make sure to spend a little time addressing that, and we can certainly dig deeper in the Facebook group on this and in the Q&A next week.
So I will have a little handout for you that talks all about all of this, like how to create the organized only space, what you need for sorting and purging, and then outlining the Totally Tiffany method and give you some examples of categories. I do have my category list, which I can also share. Um, and then you can use that kind of as a template to create your own. And then you apply those same categories across all of your supplies, so that if it is if it's a pine cone, whether it's paper or a stamp or an actual pine cone or fabric that has pine cones on it, that is winter. And then you sort and label in your containers accordingly, so you know how to find those things. And again, we'll talk about assigning a home, we'll talk about containerizing and labeling next week. Again, I'm going to tell you, don't go out and start buying storage containers. We need to figure out where things are going first. And trust me when I tell you, you're going to want to measure. It's so frustrating to go buy storage containers and find out that they don't fit where you want them to go, or what you wanted to use them for. It's either too big or too small. All of that's very frustrating. So you're going to want to wait. So I will have some supplemental videos throughout the week of me working through this same process. You'll have handouts to kind of walk you through all of these things. And then I'll be in the Facebook group every day this week if anybody has questions. Just remember, be patient with yourself. If you have questions, I'm available. Give yourself some time. Understand that it's going to be a bit of a mess first before it gets cleaned up. But you can absolutely do this. Being organized is about having a system so that even in those moments where time is getting away from you and your maintenance process is kind of getting pushed aside and disregarded, it's knowing that, okay, haven't been able to deal with all of this, but I'm looking at my calendar and next weekend I have several hours free on Saturday. I'm going into my room and boom, it's gonna get back to square. It's about being able to do that, because once we know we can do that, it's easier to deal with when it gets disorganized or gets a little messy and cluttered, because we know that a very little bit of time spent is going to get us back to the way we want it to be. Also, having the organized only space is immensely helpful in the fact that it keeps the space that you need to create free of clutter and ready for you at any given moment. So those are two important pieces to remember as well. So I hope this was helpful. I hope that you're excited about getting into the process. Again, I encourage you to start small, but if you're ready to dive right in and you're kind of itching to do that, which I completely get, do that. Make sure you have empty boxes or containers to put your sorted supplies in to keep them nice and sorted. Again, you can use, you can lay things flat and use paper to create layers, or you can use, pieces of cardboard boxes to create dividers, so you kind of keep your things separated, or Ziploc bags or whatever. You just want to make sure that all your effort in sorting doesn't go away when you put something into a box or a storage container until we get to the assign a home and containerize stage. I will be in the Facebook group all week. If you haven't joined us in the group, particularly getting into this week, I really encourage it. You might have questions and we'll really be able to kind of help each other out with those. I'll be able to help you with those. The supplemental videos I'll be adding into YouTube as well as sharing into the Facebook group, so you can access those in either place. And then I will be back. Our Q&A for week 3 will be next Sunday, probably around 1 or 2 o'clock on Sunday for the Q&A. So I'll be here to answer questions. But if you have questions, pop them into the group, and I'll certainly answer those as well. And then we are going to pull in some questions that came up this past week into next week's Q&A about organizing very specific things, because that really gets into the assigning a home and containerizing. So right now you're focused on sorting and getting everything sorted, and then destashing what you can. Okay, that's it, and I will talk to you all later.